Support for NHPR's live stream comes from you, our members.
I love them when they head north, the mass drivers, They're always good for some entertainment. If it's raining, they go 70. If it's snowing, they go 80. If it's freezing rain, they do 90. But show them some foliage, it's 11 miles an hour.
Travis Wallace bills himself as a North Country humorist, perhaps the only North Country humorist around. For years, the Madison, New Hampshire resident played the Boston comedy circuit, but after marriage and a family slowed him down, he decided to focus his gigs and his humor to the area where he and his family grew up, northern New England. Wallace soon found out that tapping into the everyday life of this place could provide him with an endless source of material.
Every time I go to the post office, every time I go to the local diner or the local market and run into the people who are from this area, it's just a wonderful wealth of material. And I've always said that people are the same no matter where you go, but what makes places like New Hampshire different is that many of the communities are still small enough so that you get to know everyone, even the crazy characters that in a large city you'd probably go out of your way to avoid. So, drawing from all of that, that's where I come up with my stories.
And it's always the hunting companion who gets shot. It's always your hunting buddy, the one guy in the woods you ought to be able to recognize, My father used to tell a story. Back in the 1940s, there was a French-Canadian hunter who accidentally shot his twin brother. Twice. And you think that's bad? Before he shot him, he'd been tracking him for an hour.
Today, Wallace does about 50 gigs a year, mostly in New Hampshire and Maine. He's written a comical play about Henry David Thoreau and sells several humor CDs. He feels he connects well with his audiences because they can relate to him. And because of that, he can get away with certain jokes that outsiders might not be able to get away with. Although his humor runs the gamut of northern New England life, Wallace says there are certain themes that constantly come up.
One of the reoccurring themes in my act is that relationship between the locals and the people from away. The slow pace of life is certainly a common thread, and hypocrisy is something that I enjoy pointing out on occasion, and it's all in fun. A friend of mine I was talking to just a few weeks ago, and I said, "Gosh, Jim, supposed to get a lot of sunshine for Memorial Weekend. I bet a lot of people will be up." And he said, "Oh, that's just what we need is more tourists," he says. I can't stand those people. They come in here all the time, and they're rude, and they're crude, and they ask stupid questions, and I can't stand the tourists. And I said, "Gosh, Jim, if that's the way you feel about it, perhaps you shouldn't be working at the Chamber of Commerce."
But like many comics, some of the subjects of Wallace's jokes presented in a different way would not be thought of as funny. Jokes about the depressed economy, trailer parks, and alcoholism. For all humorists, there's a fine line between portraying funny and serious. Today on Granite State Stories, we explore this lighter and darker side of New Hampshire life with a New Hampshire humorist and writer well known for doing this, Rebecca Rule. Once again, Travis Wallace.
There is a fine line between comedy and tragedy, and it's paper thin. And you really have to walk that fine line a great deal, because the closer you get to that line with comedy, the better the comedy gets. But you can't cross the line, and you can't offend. But I can make fun of the sad state of the economy at any particular time, or I can make fun of the awful weather and the impact it's having on snowmobiling or whatever. Issues that have a direct impact on the locals and how much money that they have in their back pocket. And I can do it and get away with it because I live it, and I'm from here, and I think they sense that.
If you ask the game warden, at what age deer turn into moose? You're probably a flatland. If you want to go fishing in the winter and you cut a hole in the ice for your boat, might be a flatland. If you see a deer hanging from a tree, you frantically call 911 to report a suicide.
Broadcast from Webster Hall on the campus of Southern New Hampshire University in Manchester.